ExoSquad character profile, Alec DeLeon. Alec DeLeon is my favorite toy and among my favorite characters. He pilots a spy logistics field communications E-frame. Being that DeLeon was voiced by John Payne, as a kid he was kind of a pain as a bit of a Parisian Aladdin. Because of that street rap background, Alec became the James Bond of the group. As much as the show and the war would allow it, Alec actually had a relationship with Maggie Weston, the other techie on the team. Although in the future in space, I think everyone's a techie. In one of the most significant moments in my personal television watching history, Alec died, killed by typhonis, liberating the moon with a group of jump troops. I was shocked when it happened, it still gives me chills to think about. Although he is brought back as a clone in the end, somewhat diminishing the impact of his death. ExoSquad character profile, JT Marsh. JT Marsh is the leader of leaders, and specifically the leader of ExoSquad, and he is voiced by Robbie Benson, who is also the voice of Beast in Disney's groundbreaking animated classic Beauty and the Beast. What an era for all kinds of animation. Marsh pilots an aerial attack E-frame, essentially an E-frame with wings, which is awesome. Marsh is the kind of person who, forgive the cliche, but he is a born leader. In part because he doesn't want to be one. Marsh is a thoughtful and caring person who gets the best out of the people around him because he invests in them and cares for them. At the beginning of the series, Marsh battles the pirate clan. His actions, which are in the interest of his team, get him charged with mutiny and sent to prison. That's how the show starts. He even has a romantic relationship with Jump Troop Colleen O'Reilly, although due to the whole intergalactic war thing, it was a bit of a strained relationship. However, it was never meant to be, even after the war, as Colleen was a soldier through and through, and Marsh had enough of war. In the first season's penultimate battle, Marsh severely injures Phaeton. Throughout the course of the series, it was really Marsh and his interaction with those various parties, the Earth and Venus Resistance, the pirate clans, and the fleet itself, that brought them all together to eventually win the war. ExoSquad character profile, Phaeton. Once Chief Delegate of the United Martian Commonwealth and eventual Governor General of the Neo-Sapien Commonwealth, Phaeton was voiced by Richard Newman. He piloted a mobile land and air command E-frame. He and Marsala are broodmates, considered brothers as they are essentially created in the same batch of Neo-Sapiens. I'm not trying to be flippant, that's just what happened. They led the first revolt 50 years before the events of the show. That war was a fight for freedom from slavery and probably could have been its own series. But the second was purely a mad grab for power by Phaeton. As Chief Delegate, he manipulated the Exo fleet into going to battle against the pirates. This left the homeworlds vulnerable. You can't look at Phaeton and ignore the historical precedent of Adolf Hitler. Himself a veteran of a previous war, the First World War, he then radicalizes people and militarized them to strike vulnerable neighbors. The culmination of the first season of the show was an epic throwdown with Phaeton and JT Marsh. Phaeton was messed up and developed the Neo-Sapien automutation syndrome. This sent him more into insanity. In an effort to be their best selves, the Neo-Sapiens created the Neo-Megas and a bunch of other craziness. That's all for another video. The Neo-Megas saw Phaeton as a threat to all of existence. Therefore, they were a threat to him and he had all but one executed. There's also a whole bunch of drama with generals and cloning and killing the original guy and using his clone, but that's its own video or series of videos. In another World War II parallel, Phaeton controlled his public appearances to hide his health issues, much like FDR hid his polio. In the end, Phaeton's madness drove his decisions and hurt the Neo-Sapien war effort. After another battle with Marsh and ExoSquad, Nara Burns killed him. Even dead, he wasn't dead, as he had a clone, of course. A clone that brought up the question, if you could travel in time and kill baby Hitler, do you do it? Or maybe baby Thanos?
That's horrible.
ExoSquad character profile, Typhonis. Minister of Neo-Sapien Battle Forces, Typhonis was voiced by Rob Morton and piloted a high-speed stealth E-frame, my personal least favorite E-frame. Typhonis was the Neo-Sapien military leader, but he was also Phaeton's lackey, which led to tension between the two in the series. Really from the start, as Phaeton never trusted him and had a warehouse full of Typhonis clones at the ready. Typhonis messed up and basically caused the pirates to align with Exofleet when they had previously decided not to. After that, Phaeton had him executed. Maybe also before that, I'm not sure. Phaeton then resurrected him multiple times. He finally died when he died after killing Alec DeLeon. ExoSquad character profile, Marsala. Oh Marsala, how I love you. Let me count the waves. But first, your character profile. Marsala, voiced by Gary Chalk, is a member of ExoSquad and pilots a rapid assault E-frame, or should I say co-pilots, as he pilots along with Nara Burns. Marsala is defined by his connection to others and his gentle demeanor. He is the brother or broodmate of Phaeton. Marsala led the original Neo-Sapien revolt half a century before the events of the show. In fact, it was Phaeton who betrayed him as he was captured by a future admiral, then E-frame pilot named Winfield. Marsala's original revolt was driven by justice, as is his battling against his own people. He fought for his own people's freedom, and later the freedom of the now essentially enslaved mankind. In being the outsider in ExoSquad, who frankly doesn't fully understand humanity, he becomes the proxy for the audience as we learn about the nature of this world and the people in it as he does. Marsala becomes especially close to JT and of course to his co-pilot, Nara Burns. He becomes a father figure to Nara and in turn learned to be more human because of their connection. After the war, Marsala entered the world of politics to help foster a better future for his people. ExoSquad character profile, Thrax. Thrax, voiced by, I don't know. He was voiced by somebody and it's not on IMDb. But wait, I actually found it on BehindTheVoiceActors.com. So Thrax is voiced by Paul Dobson. I'm glad I now know who voiced the character because it's a nuanced and fine performance. Anyway, he was an E-frame pilot who flew a Neo-fighter Y-wing. In another historical reference, he's totally the Red Baron, and even defeats ace pilot of ExoSquad, Kaz Takagi. In that moment, Thrax showed the depth and maturity of the show by not killing Takagi, stating there had already been enough killing. Later, when Venus was clearly going to be taken, Thrax ignored orders, refusing to detonate a bomb to protect the innocent civilians. He was arrested by Draconis, but was later released when Phaeton had Draconis arrested. ExoSquad character profile, Sean Napier. Sean Napier is voiced by John Payne. He is himself a bit of a pain, and that's a joke I've used before, as he was initially an E-frame pilot and a part of Exofleet but was kicked out for his bad attitude. Napier's backstory is where things get really heavy. He's an alcoholic divorced Chicago cop. Cops in the ExoSquad universe, they pilot E-frames, a police enforcer model specifically. Did I mention he's a racist? Before the Neo-Sapien War, he saved then Chief United Martian Commonwealth delegate Phaeton, but he refuses to shake Phaeton's hand because he's a Neo-Sapien. Did this guy cause the entire war? After the Neo-Sapiens conquered Earth, he was captured. He eventually escaped and formed the Chicago Resistance. Napier, who seemed to love to hold a grudge, blamed the Exofleet for abandoning the homeworlds. He wasn't wrong. Eventually, he learned to be less of a pain and worked more with ExoSquad and Exofleet. After the war, he even learned to see Neo-Sapiens as beings of value, working with Marsala to help the two sides reconcile. ExoSquad character profile, Avery Butler. Avery Butler, voiced by Alvin Sanders, is the leader of Charlie Company, a team of ExoSquad jump troops. Jump troops are a bit akin to the soldiers in Starship Troopers, the book, not the movie. And the jump troops technically wore ultralight E-frames. These guys are your frontline Marines. And Captain Butler might remind you of another guy. They were both influenced by the actual Charlie Company, made famous by a 1970 television documentary, The World of Charlie Company. He was the tough but firm leader and true man of action. The best display of his character and the level of depth of the show came in his profile segment, narrated by Admiral Winfield, where the Admiral noted that Butler said the hardest part of the job was sending messages to the families of the dead. Beyond that, due to the war, the messages could not be sent to the family, yet he still recorded every one of them. Powerful stuff. ExoSquad character profile, Vince Pellegrino. voiced by David Kaye. As you can tell just by looking at his hair, he had quite a hot temper and a lot of attitude, but he's also a goofball from a long line of soldiers. Like his captain, Pellegrino was a jump troop in an ultralight E-frame. He was the rifle squad leader and known for his precision skills. His attitude once got him in a fight with everyone's favorite hothead from ExoSquad, and toy I second most wanted as a kid but still want as an adult, Wolf Bronski, when Bronski referred to the jump troops as jump troops. Pellegrino was close to Gunnery Sergeant Ramon Longfeather, who was a soulful and thoughtful peace-loving man, really Pellegrino's opposite, yet closest friend.